She dreamed that we were husband and wife. So, she confined me to a private estate. My mother came to see me secretly and had her leg brutally broken by her, simply because she wouldn't allow any woman to come near me. You are my husband now. I won't allow any woman to even look at you, not even your mother. She tried every method to win my heart, but I remained unmoved. Enraged, she found a substitute outside who looked about 80% like me. The substitute, taking advantage of the female CEO's favoritism, took advantage of the CEO's favoritism and did as he pleased. He brought people and barged into the mansion where I was staying. Where did this lowlife come from, daring to get surgery to look like me and seduce my woman? Today I'm going to cripple everything you use to serve women. Let's see how you'll get into a woman's bed after this. He broke my hands, cut off my tongue, and even poured boiling water into my crotch. As I lay dying, the CEO finally arrived. The substitute stepped on my head with his foot and said triumphantly to the CEO, "Baby, this fake was hiding here trying to seduce you. I've already taught him a good lesson for you." Eleanor Vance tormented me for 7 years and imprisoned me for 4 because of a dream. But recently, she found a substitute who looked similar to me. They had been cozying up together for several months. To provoke me, Eleanor Vance often sent me their intimate videos. Just as I was sitting in the yard, watching the videos, a commotion suddenly erupted outside the yard. Eleanor keeps coming here every few days. Today, I'm going to see what treasure is hidden in this mansion. But didn't Miss Vance say this mansion is her private forbidden zone and no one is allowed in? Yeah, Kevin, I heard someone just snuck a peek inside the mansion once and Miss Vance broke their hands and feet and gouged out their eyes. Isn't it bad for us to sneak in without her permission like this? What are you scared of? I'm Eleanor's boyfriend. She loves me to death. She'd never blame me. Listening to the noise outside the yard, my expression shifted slightly, and I had a bad feeling. I knew better than anyone how crazy Eleanor Vance was. She was fiercely possessive, treating me like her personal property and keeping me locked up in this mansion. Once, someone, out of curiosity, secretly snuck into the mansion and took a look at me. Eleanor Vance broke their hands and feet, gouged out their eyes, and they vanished without a trace the next day. Initially, she only forbade any women from being near me. Later, she discovered I was nicer to the bodyguards in the house than to her. In a fit of pique, she fired all the bodyguards from the mansion. If those people outside got in, they were all likely heading for disaster. I quickly got up, wanting to warn them to leave immediately. But just as I opened the door, a face about 80% like mine appeared before my eyes. Before I could speak, the person punched me hard in the face. Where did this lowlife come from? Daring to get surgery to look like me and hide in Eleanor's mansion. Are you trying to steal my woman? The sudden punch made me dizzy. You piece of trash, you've got some nerve. Is this a place a kept man like you can come? And you deliberately got surgery to look like Kevin to seduce Ms. Vance? You really have no shame just to get ahead. Only then did I realize that the person who had suddenly rushed in and hit me was the substitute Eleanor Vance had found, Kevin Thompson. Because of Eleanor Vance's pathological possessiveness, I had always been very cold to her. Even when forced to marry her, I remained indifferent to her, never even touching her. Perhaps to spite me, or perhaps to fill a void in her heart, she searched everywhere for someone who looked like me. And Kevin Thompson was the closest substitute she found. At this moment, Kevin Thompson was furious, his eyes practically spitting fire at me. You basta. RD, you know Eleanor is crazy about me, so you went to great lengths to look like me, trying to be my substitute and replace me, huh? Kevin Thompson's attitude was arrogant and nasty, but considering he didn't know the truth, I decided not to hold that punch against him. Instead, I kindly advised, this isn't a place you should be. While Eleanor Vance isn't here yet, you guys should leave quickly, otherwise, no one can help you. However, Kevin Thompson didn't appreciate it at all. Instead, he grabbed my collar and roared angrily, "Eleanor is my woman. Is there any place of hers I can't come? You're just pretending to drive me away because you're afraid that the real person will ruin your scheme and you won't even be able to be a kept man. Today, I'm going to show you what happens when you try to steal my woman." Saying that, Kevin Thompson kicked me directly to the ground. I hit a stone, and my head immediately split open. I was enraged and tried to get up and fight back, but as soon as I got up, Kevin Thompson's brothers pinned me down to my knees. I glared at Kevin Thompson and said, "Aren't you afraid of Eleanor Vance finding out about your reckless behavior?" Kevin Thompson snorted disdainfully and scoffed, "I'm the one Eleanor has been looking for a long time, the love of her life. If I get a little scratch on my face, she'll worry for days and won't be able to sleep. So what if she finds out? Do you think she'd blame me because of a lowlife like you?" Kevin Thompson's brothers chimed in with cold laughter. "Exactly. Everyone knows Ms. Vance fell in love with Kevin at first sight. You're just a fake, a knockoff. Do you really think you can compare to Kevin? Kevin, Ms. Vance is a famous beauty CEO. There must be plenty of scheming guys like this bastard trying to seduce her around her. Today is a good chance to punish one to warn others and cut off the crooked intentions of those kept men." That's right. Let those bastards who want to be kept men know who Ms. Vance's real husband is. These people were all sharp-tongued, their eyes ruthless, looking as if they wanted to tear me apart. I spoke coldly, "You'd better go ask Eleanor Vance clearly who I am." Kevin Thompson raised an eyebrow and scoffed, "You're just a fake who snuck into the mansion. Do you think I need to inquire about your identity? I'm the apple of Eleanor's eye, the future son-in-law of the wealthy Vance family. What are you? Do you think you can compare identities with me?" Saying that, his eyes turned vicious, and he ordered his group of brothers, "Rough him up first." Hearing that, they all immediately started kicking and punching me. Instantly, I was beaten to the ground, my nose bleeding profusely. Enduring the severe pain, I roared, "Stop it. I'm Eleanor Vance's husband." Hearing my words, everyone stopped. Kevin Thompson stood aside, squinting at me. "You say you're Eleanor's husband?" I said seriously, "That's right. You are just a substitute she found. If she finds out you hurt me like this, she will definitely not let you go." I revealed the truth, thinking Kevin Thompson would stop. But to my surprise, they all burst into laughter almost at the same instant. "This bastard, he's gone crazy wanting to be a kept man, hasn't he? Relying on his slight resemblance to Hao Gu, daring to defy logic here, claiming our Kevin is his substitute? Everyone knows Ms. Vance takes Kevin everywhere she goes. You're just a fake who snuck in. Do you really dare call yourself Ms. Vance's husband?" Kevin Thompson smirked, a sinister smile on his lips. "I thought you must have some skill to be able to look like me and try to seduce Eleanor. I didn't expect you to be such a brainless idiot. I've been with Eleanor for so long, and I never knew she had a husband. How many lives do you have? Daring to tell such an absurd lie? If you were really her husband, why would you be unknown? And why would you live alone in this deserted mansion? Saying that, Kevin Thompson picked up a shovel from the yard and walked over to me. "Pin him down for me. Today, I'm going to personally teach him a lesson." Hearing that, his brothers immediately held me down tightly. Clearly, they didn't know why the area around here was deserted. It was because Eleanor Vance had bought this entire large piece of land, and no one could enter without her permission. Originally, this mansion had bodyguards and maids, but Eleanor Vance, in a fit of irrational jealousy, had sent everyone away. Not announcing my identity to the outside world was also because she didn't allow anyone to look at me more than once. Even just discussing me, she felt it was a blasphemy against me. Unexpectedly, these things became their reasons for not believing my identity. Seeing Kevin Thompson raise the shovel and me being pinned down unable to move, I panicked and roared again, "I really am Eleanor Vance's husband. If you don't believe me, call her." I was shouting hoarsely, but no one paid attention. Kevin Thompson directly slammed the shovel hard onto my arm joint. The sound of bone breaking rang out, and intense pain flooded over me. It was so painful I was covered in cold sweat and nearly fainted. "Still talking tough? You dare call yourself Eleanor's husband?" Saying that, Kevin Thompson kept smashing my hand with the shovel. Soon, my hands were a bloody mess. The pain made me lose consciousness. Seeing this, Kevin Thompson finally stopped and laughed in satisfaction. "Ha ha ha, let's see how you touch women now that you don't have hands." His brothers also laughed heartily. I glared at them, trembling all over, and shouted, "You will regret this." Being confined for years under the threat of my entire family's lives by Eleanor Vance, I had lost my freedom. I could only stare blankly at the empty mansion day after day. This had built up resentment inside me, and now I had to endure such torture from this substitute. The anger in my heart instantly turned into intense hatred. Kevin Thompson threw away the shovel and stepped heavily on my face with his foot, still daring to challenge me. "Since that filthy mouth of yours can't say anything I like to hear, you might as well never speak again. Get me a knife." One of Kevin Thompson's brothers stepped forward and handed Kevin Thompson a Swiss Army knife, while hesitantly saying, "Kevin, this is Miss Vance's territory after all. Is it appropriate for us to make such a scene?" Kevin Thompson snatched the knife without hesitation and said, "What's inappropriate? Eleanor is my woman. Her home is my home. I'm just teaching a lesson to a shameless lowlife in my own house. Who dares say anything? Besides, Eleanor loves me to death. Even if I took this bastard's life, she wouldn't even bat an eye at me." His other brothers also chimed in, "Exactly. Our Kevin is the man Miss Vance loves to death. Is there anything he can't do? When Miss Vance finds out, she'll only feel bad that our Kevin got tired teaching the bastard a lesson. Maybe she'll even be completely conquered by Kevin's masculine bravery and be desperate to marry him." After hearing them say this, the brother who handed him the knife no longer had any reservations and settled in to watch the show. I lay on the ground, watching the cold, gleaming knife getting closer and closer to me. I couldn't help but scream in panic, "I really am Eleanor Vance's husband. If you do this, Eleanor Vance will never let you go." However, my threat had no effect. Instead, it made Kevin Thompson even angrier. "Today I'll cut out your tongue. Let's see how you keep talking tough." Saying that, Kevin Thompson directly pried the sharp knife into my mouth. With a flick of his wrist, in a daze, I saw a large amount of blood and my severed tongue. It fell from my mouth. Extreme pain engulfed me. I instantly became a pile of mush, lying in a pool of blood, unable to move, barely alive. Kevin Thompson dropped the knife, stood up, and looked down at me. "Someone like you, even if you got surgery to look like me, Eleanor would never give you a second glance. She loves me, the person, understand? Not just anybody can have the kind of luck I have. And not just anyone can make Eleanor fall in love." Saying that, he picked up the kettle of boiling water from the coffee table in the yard and ordered his brothers, "Pull down his pants. Today, I'm going to ruin his equipment for serving women. Let's see how he lives off women after this." At his command, his brothers quickly and forcefully tore off my pants. And Kevin Thompson, using the boiling water, poured it onto my crotch. The boiling water spilled and spread between my thighs. An intense burning sensation overwhelmed me. I was limp on the ground, without the slightest strength to move. I wanted to scream, but without a tongue in my mouth full of blood, I couldn't make a sound. I could only let the boiling water scald my skin until it was red and peeling. Although Eleanor Vance had obsessively confined me here, she had never hurt or touched me. On the contrary, she protected me fiercely. Even if I got a small scratch, she would frantically summon all the top experts to treat me. Even though I was unwilling to be intimate with her, she never forced me. She said she would wait until I willingly gave her my first time. She said I was destined to be her man for life, that she wanted to have children with me and spend a happy life together. But now, I was drowning in Kevin Thompson's humiliation, stripped of my masculine dignity. Helplessness and despair deeply enveloped me. I couldn't make a sound, only tears streamed down my face. Eleanor Vance, is this the result you wanted? Seeing my miserable state, Kevin Thompson's brothers couldn't help but exclaim excitedly, "Kevin was born to be rich. He really knows how to teach people a lesson. Yeah, look at this bastard. He was talking tough at first, but now he's crying. Haha, he probably won't dare try to seduce women again. Congratulations, Kevin, for successfully eliminating a piece of trash. Let's see who dares compete with you for Ms. Vance now." Kevin Thompson, like a triumphant general, proudly threw away the kettle of boiling water. He stepped heavily on my crotch with his foot. As he pressed down hard, he leaned over and said arrogantly, "From now on, you can just be a eunuch. A fake like you, daring to fantasize about getting Eleanor's affection with my face? How ridiculous!" Just as he finished speaking, Eleanor Vance walked into the mansion's yard and said coldly, "What are you doing?" As soon as Eleanor Vance spoke, everyone couldn't help but look towards her. She was wearing a haute couture dress and had a head of dark, slightly curled hair. Her fair skin and shapely figure, combined with her cold and stunning aura, made her even more noble and moving. Kevin Thompson, who had been arrogant just moments before, instantly softened his demeanor when he saw Eleanor Vance. With a spring-like smile, he stepped forward and took Eleanor Vance's jade-like hand. "Eleanor, weren't you in an urgent meeting? How do you have time to come here?" Eleanor Vance ignored Kevin Thompson's question and coldly asked, "Didn't you know that this mansion is a place I've strictly forbidden anyone from entering? What are you doing here?" Eleanor Vance's voice was very cold, devoid of any emotion. But her eyes, like black obsidian, reflected a chillingly sharp light. Meeting Eleanor Vance's gaze, an unnatural look flashed across Kevin Thompson's face. "Eleanor, I saw a fake sneaking in stealthily from outside the mansion, so I followed him in to catch him." Hearing that, Eleanor Vance frowned slightly and looked towards the interior of the mansion. "You didn't go inside the mansion, did you?" Kevin Thompson immediately waved his hand. "No. We just taught this fake a lesson in the yard." Kevin Thompson's brothers saw that the atmosphere wasn't cute. "You right," and quickly chimed in, "Ms. Vance, Kevin knows this place is very important to you, so of course, he wouldn't mess around. Right, he saw someone sneaking in stealthily and was extremely worried, afraid that person might harm you. Kevin just loves you too much. Worry makes him act rashly. Please don't blame him." After hearing these words, Eleanor Vance's cold expression eased slightly. However, her voice remained cold. "Don't come here again in the future." Kevin Thompson looked puzzled. "Why? I think this place is nice. It's a bit of a waste to leave it abandoned. How about I move in here later?" As he asked this, Kevin Thompson looked at Eleanor Vance expectantly, like a pet waiting for its owner's nod. But Eleanor Vance's face, which had just softened, suddenly turned icy cold again. Seeing this, Kevin Thompson paused and said softly, "Eleanor, did I say something wrong that made you unhappy?" Eleanor Vance slowly raised her eyes and looked at the window of my room. A subtly provocative smile suddenly appeared on her lips. Then, she reached out and gently pinched Kevin Thompson's face. "No, I just think you deserve to live in a better place. This place is too shabby. If you're going to live anywhere, it should be the Vance estate." As she spoke, Eleanor Vance's gaze intentionally or unintentionally swept towards the window of my room. It seemed she was hoping I would see this scene through the window. When Kevin Thompson heard this, he immediately beamed. Really? You're really going to let me live at the Vance estate? The Vance estate was the old residence of the Vance family. Only members of the Vance family were eligible to enter. Eleanor Vance's words implied that Kevin Thompson was practically becoming a member of the Vance family. This made Kevin Thompson, who was eager to marry into the Vance family, uncontrollably excited. Eleanor Vance nodded and said meaningfully, "Of course, because you're so good." Before Kevin Thompson could say anything, Eleanor Vance continued, "This place is my private forbidden zone. If it weren't for you today, none of these brothers of yours would leave here alive." Eleanor Vance's words were spoken lightly, but they terrified those brothers. They all knew Eleanor Vance was decisive and always kept her word. Under the fearful gazes of those brothers, Kevin Thompson took Eleanor Vance's arm. "I knew you loved me the most." Eleanor Vance's lips curved slightly, and she said softly, "Do you know what I like most about you?" Kevin Thompson looked at Eleanor Vance tenderly. "What?" Eleanor Vance used her long fingers to gently stroke Kevin Thompson's cheek and said affectionately, "I like the way you look when you use this face to tell me you love me more than anything." Eleanor Vance's sudden confession made Kevin Thompson a little shy. "Oh, right." The next moment, he suddenly realized something, and a glint flashed in his eyes. Then he quickly walked over to me and dragged me, barely alive, in front of Eleanor Vance. In front of Eleanor Vance, he stepped on my head with his foot and said triumphantly, "Baby, this is the fake who snuck into the mansion. I've already taught him a good lesson for you." At this moment, my entire face was red and swollen. Blood was still oozing from the place where my tongue had been cut, staining my face. I looked hideous, a shocking sight. Eleanor Vance didn't even recognize me. In fact, the look in her eyes when she saw me was filled with disgust, as if she had seen something filthy. Her gaze only lingered on me for a moment before turning back to Kevin Thompson, smiling as she praised him. "Good job teaching him a lesson. But don't do things like this yourself in the future. If you get hurt, I'll be heartbroken. Especially that face of yours." Eleanor Vance stared deeply at Kevin Thompson's face. The look of deep affection was like someone admiring their most cherished treasure. After speaking, she didn't look at me Ein. She turned to the bodyguards she had brought and ordered, "Go dig a grave outside and bury him. Don't mess up my yard." Eleanor Vance's tone was natural, as if digging a grave and burying someone was as common to her as eating and drinking water. I lay on the ground, barely alive, struggling even to breathe. I wanted to scream, to struggle, to make Eleanor Vance understand everything. But with my tongue cut off, blood draining away, and my strength gone, I couldn't open my mouth at all. I could only writhe on the ground, clinging to life, letting the two bodyguards lift my body and drag me out of the mansion yard. Eleanor Vance's gaze kept intentionally or unintentionally glancing towards the window of my room. Perhaps because she didn't see the figure she wanted to see, she gradually became anxious. The next moment, she looked at Kevin Thompson with a look of frustration and deliberately raised her voice. "Kevin, I'll take you to see the Vance estate now. If you like it, you can move in today." Hearing that, Kevin Thompson was overjoyed. He quickly took Eleanor Vance's hand and started walking out. "Great. Let's go quickly. I can't wait to live with you." Eleanor Vance slowly walked towards the yard exit under Kevin Thompson's impatient urging. She kept looking back over her shoulder but never saw my figure at the window. This feeling of being completely ignored made Eleanor Vance, who was already acting out of spite, even more annoyed. Her face suddenly darkened, and she stopped walking. Kevin Thompson turned around and walked back into the mansion. Inside the mansion, she quickly opened my room door. "You truly don't care that much." Eleanor Vance's words stopped abruptly because the room was empty. She frowned and searched every corner of the mansion, unwilling to give up. But there was no sign of me anywhere. Eleanor Vance walked out of the mansion and stared coldly at Kevin Thompson, asking, "Where's the person who was in this mansion?" Eleanor Vance's voice was filled with suppressed rage, as if she could explode at any moment. Kevin Thompson was bewildered, asking in confusion, "What person? Besides that piece of trash who got surgery to look like me just now, I didn't see anyone else in the mansion." Hearing this, Eleanor Vance's expression changed drastically. "Got surgery to look like you? Are you saying that person just now looked a lot like you?" Kevin Thompson said casually, "Yeah, that's why I taught him a good lesson. That lowlife knew you liked me, so he deliberately got surgery to look like me, hoping to seduce you and replace me that way. He even deluded himself into calling himself your husband. Isn't that laughable?" Saying that, Kevin Thompson even let out a deliberate scoff. But at this moment, Eleanor Vance's expression had become extremely grim. She suddenly turned around and ran out of the mansion yard like a madwoman. "Eleanor? Eleanor, where are you going?" Kevin Thompson called out in confusion while stepping forward and following closely behind. His brothers also quickly started running. Eleanor Vance, who had always been poised and composed, was now frantic, as if she had lost her mind. Even in stiletto heels, her steps were rapid. As soon as she got out of the yard, she saw the desolate land not far away. 2 Vance family bodyguards were filling a grave. She quickly rushed forward and pushed the 2 bodyguards aside. Then she picked up a shovel and frantically dug the dirt. Her eyes were bloodshot, filled with anxiety. After digging me out, she quickly wiped the blood and dirt off my face. When she saw my face clearly, her pupils constricted sharply, and her entire body trembled. She reached out and nervously checked for my breath. Seeing that I still had a faint breath, she immediately roared at the 2 bodyguards, "Quick, call an ambulance." At her command, one of the bodyguards immediately made a call. Kevin Thompson, who had just run over, saw Eleanor Vance's extreme anxiety over me, and his expression instantly became displeased. He said with a sullen face, complaining, "Eleanor, you rushed over here, and now you're calling an ambulance for this bastard? What is the meaning of this? Do you care about him that much? Didn't you say you only loved me? How can you hold this bastard in your arms?" Facing Kevin Thompson's questions, Eleanor Vance ignored him. Her gaze was fixed on me, not for a moment leaving my face. It was as if she was afraid I would stop breathing the next second. Kevin Thompson couldn't accept being completely ignored. He stepped forward quickly, grabbed Eleanor Vance's hand, and continued, "Eleanor, snap out of it. I'm the man you love. Did you consider my feelings when you cared so much about this bastard? What about this bastard is better than me?" Kevin Thompson's brothers also spoke up on his behalf. "Yeah, Ms. Vance, this bastard just got surgery to look a bit like Kevin, but he's ultimately just a fake, a nobody. You must not hurt Kevin's feelings for the sake of someone like this." "That's right. He deliberately got surgery to look like Kevin just to seduce you. Don't fall for his trick. Don't be fooled by his pathetic appearance. This is all his own doing. He was throwing his weight around just because he looked a bit like Kevin, and he even defied logic by claiming Kevin was just his substitute. Burying a shameless piece of trash like this alive is letting him off easy." With every word they spoke, Eleanor Vance's face darkened further. Her bloodshot eyes stared deeply at me, and she said word by word, "David Miller, don't worry. I won't let a single one of the people who humiliated you today go." Eleanor Vance's voice was not loud, but it clearly reached everyone's ears. The expressions on everyone's faces instantly froze. No one expected Eleanor Vance to suddenly blurt out such words. Kevin Thompson's eyes widened, and he said in disbelief, "Eleanor, are you kidding me?" Hearing this, his brothers immediately reacted, Kevin, Miss Vance loves you so much. How could she possibly punish us for this fake? She's definitely joking. It looks like this fake is just a kept man Miss Vance is keeping in this deserted mansion, which is why Miss Vance knows him. That's right, Kevin, don't worry. Miss Vance would never blame you for a kept man who imitates you. What she said was clearly just to appease the kept man. Eleanor Vance seemed not to hear these voices, her gaze still fixed on me. David Miller, don't scare me. Open your eyes and look at me. Talk to me. Eleanor Vance kept calling out to me, her voice laced with unconcealed tension. Held in her arms, I felt her trembling body and her frightened voice. A sliver of consciousness returned to me. I struggled to open my eyes and slightly opened my mouth, wanting to speak. But when I opened my mouth, my throat could only produce a low, hoarse sound. Blood kept flowing from my mouth. The blood stained Eleanor Vance's hands, and she was instantly startled. Holding my face with extreme panic, she said tremblingly, David Miller, what happened to your tongue? I couldn't reply. I just tried my best to keep my eyelids open and looked at her weakly. Kevin Thompson, seeing this, said indignantly, this bastard kept talking tough just now, so I cut out his tongue. Seeing that he still wanted to take my place, I also made sure he'd never have kids. Eleanor, you won't blame me, right? Hearing this, Eleanor Vance's eyes instantly became terrifying. She slowly turned her head, her gaze fixed directly on Kevin Thompson. Her eyes seemed capable of killing. Kevin Thompson, however, didn't sense that anything was wrong and remained defiant. He held Eleanor Vance's hand and continued, Eleanor, I know you love me very much, but not everyone who looks like me is me. You already have me, there's no need to keep a fake kept man like this. I can satisfy your every need. This piece of trash probable. Why won't make it? I'll forgive you this time. From now on, let's be together properly, and please don't ever make me sad again. Kevin Thompson thought these words were deeply affectionate and would move Eleanor Vance. But Eleanor Vance's expression grew deeper and deeper, her eyes becoming even more terrifying. The next moment, she showed Kevin Thompson a knowing smile. Kevin Thompson, there's something I forgot to tell you. David Miller is the love of my life, and he is my husband. Eleanor Vance's voice was very soft, but it struck Kevin Thompson like a heavy hammer, stunning him and making him collapse to the ground. And in that instant, I completely lost consciousness. In the hospital, Eleanor Vance found the top medical experts to stitch my tongue back together. My lower body injuries were also slowly recovering. I woke up 2 days later, after being in a coma. Then, I recuperated for a full half-month before being discharged. Eleanor Vance brought me back to the mansion. Inside the mansion, Kevin Thompson and his brothers were all tied up in the living room, disheveled and filthy, like death row inmates awaiting judgment. They were dirty and emitted waves of foul odor. Upon seeing me, they, who had been utterly dejected, seemed to find a trigger for relief, and their eyes suddenly sparkled. David, we didn't know who you were, that's why we did those things to you. Ignorance is bliss, just let us go. One of Kevin Thompson's brothers spoke impatiently. It seemed like a plea for forgiveness, but in reality, it was just shifting blame. My expression was cold, and I said directly, didn't know who I was? I revealed my identity over and over again that day, and I even told you to call and ask. But you didn't believe me, and you even cut out my tongue. Weren't you very arrogant back then? What, you dared to do it, but you don't dare to admit it now? My words were sharp, and my gaze was cold. The man's face turned pale after hearing me, and he couldn't argue anymore. Seeing that I was clearly going to pursue the matter to the end, the others immediately shouted nervously, it was all a misunderstanding. If we had known you were Miss Vance's husband, we wouldn't have dared lay a hand on you no matter what. That's right. You've already recovered and been discharged from the hospital. there's no need to pursue this any further, right? Exactly. We've been locked up for over 10 days, and you're fine now. There's no need to keep fussing over it. They complained one after another, claiming injustice. It was as if they were the victims, and I was a tyrannical and unreasonable abuser. Looking at their feigned innocence, my expression grew colder, and my voice became even chillier. When you were teaching me a lesson, you showed no mercy, practically wanting to kill me. Now you're telling me there's no need to make a big deal out of it? My rhetorical question left those few people speechless. Kevin Thompson, meanwhile, turned his gaze to Eleanor Vance. Eleanor, the reason I laid hands on him was entirely because I love you. It was also because I was too afraid of losing you that I acted that way. Is loving you a crime? How can you punish me for this? Kevin Thompson was full of grievances, as if he had suffered a great injustice. He knew Eleanor Vance always favored him, and I hated him. So, he bypassed me and spoke directly to Eleanor Vance. However, Eleanor Vance was expressionless. You hurt my husband, and you expect to get off easy? Saying that, Eleanor Vance looked directly at me and asked softly, the scene might be a bit bloody later. Do you want to avoid it? In the past, I hated seeing Eleanor Vance hurt people because of me. But this time, my expression didn't change. No. Eleanor Vance nodded. Then she got up and picked up a sharp, large axe. She walked towards Kevin Thompson's brothers like death itself. In this moment, Eleanor Vance didn't look like the high and mighty Ice Queen CEO. He looked like a female general who had seen many battles and slaughtered countless people. Kevin Thompson's brothers were all scared out of their wits. No, don't. Ah. Without giving them a chance to speak, Eleanor Vance's hand went up and the axe came down. Accompanied by screams of pain, one person after another fell. The way they died was more horrific than the last. A gust of wind blew through. The pungent smell of blood filled the air, clearing my head. It made me deeply realize once again Eleanor Vance's ruthless methods. In the vast mansion, only Kevin Thompson was left, trembling, standing among the corpses. Seeing that Eleanor Vance hadn't laid a hand on him, he was both surprised and delighted. Eleanor, I knew you still loved me. You definitely couldn't bear to kill me. Eleanor Vance snorted coldly and said faintly, no, I just don't want you to die too quickly. I want David Miller to watch me slowly torture you to death. Hearing this, the smile on Kevin Thompson's face instantly froze. He kept shaking his head. No, you can't do this to me. I've been missing for so many days. My father must be looking for me. I'm my father's only son. If you kill me, you'll be in deep trouble. By now, Kevin Thompson had realized that relying on emotion would definitely not convince Eleanor Vance. So he brought up his father. Hearing this, Eleanor Vance scoffed through her nose. Do you think I'm afraid? Saying that, Eleanor Vance raised the axe in her hand and swung it down at the triumphant Kevin Thompson. But just then, Kevin Thompson's father, with a group of police officers, burst through the door. Put the axe down. Don't move. As soon as the police officers entered, they immediately pointed their guns at Eleanor Vance. Their expressions were sharp and stern, as if she would be shot to death in a hail of bullets if she moved even an inch. Dad, you're finally here. Kevin Thompson's face was full of joy, and tears of relief welled up in high eyes. He felt a sense of relief as if he had narrowly escaped death. He even looked at Eleanor Vance with a hint of provocation. Let my son go quickly. I know your Vance family is powerful, but if you harm my son, you will definitely not get off easy. Put the axe down quickly. Kevin Thompson's father roared at Eleanor Vance, his tone carrying an obvious threat. But Eleanor Vance remained expressionless. She didn't even look up. The axe in her hand, firm and powerful, swung down towards the smug Kevin Thompson. Asterisk thud. Bang, asterisk the sound of the sharp axe entering flesh and a harsh gunshot rang out simultaneously. Blood instantly spilled from Kevin Thompson's chest, and a bloom of blood appeared on Eleanor Vance's shoulder. Eleanor Vance frowned slightly, a hint of pain flashing across her face. But her eyes were extremely resolute. Under Kevin Thompson's horrified and painful gaze, Eleanor Vance pulled out the axe and swung it at Kevin Thompson again, over and over. Each swing was so decisive and forceful, and the police officers' guns kept firing as she continued to swing, until Eleanor Vance's body was covered in blood blooms everywhere, until Kevin Thompson was completely lifeless. Only then did Eleanor Vance drop the axe in satisfaction. She collapsed to the ground. Eleanor Vance lay on the ground, looking at me with a mix of sorrow and profound affection. She parted her lips slightly, as if she wanted to say something to me. I slowly walked forward and stood beside her. "David Miller, I avenged you." Saying that, a smile appeared on Eleanor Vance's pained face. I looked at her indifferently, without speaking. She spoke with difficulty again, weakly. "Can you say you love me?" Her voice was faint, and for the first time, there was a hint of desperate pleading in her tone. I looked at her expressionlessly and said coldly, "I hate you." Those simple 3 words seemed to pierce Eleanor Vance's heart. Her expression instantly froze. Her breathing stopped abruptly. In the end, she was still looking at me with her eyes wide open, a look of profound despair fixed in them. After Eleanor Vance died, I walked straight outside the mansion. I spread my arms wide and breathed deeply. The breeze blew past, carrying a hint of fresh scent. That was the smell of freedom. This was life.